I'm Rory Williamson from Williamson & Co Real Estate, and I absolutely love living in this unique part of the world. And when you mention Noosa or the Sunshine Coast, people instantly think of the gorgeous beaches, the laid-back lifestyle and the near-perfect weather. But what makes a place really special are the people that live there. One of the perks of my job is I get to meet people every day, and everyone has a story. Come and join me as we meet some of the most interesting characters of the coast. Tim, you're a bit of a pioneer here in Noosa. You've created the first brewery. You've just got a gold medal at the Independent Beer Awards down in Melbourne. You've only been going a year. Was beer always a big passion for you, or is it something that happened more recently? Yeah,
always been super passionate about beer. I think probably most guys are. Always loved a beer. Probably really got into it when I moved to Australia probably 12 years ago, and I sort of got into the craft beer sort of scene here. And then started doing a little bit of homebrew, got a bit more into what's involved in making beer, and that sort of along the same lines as sort of growing brands and understanding about the Noosa market, and I sort of put two and two together then.
Your beers, they don't have any preservatives in them at all. What are the main key differences between your beers and, say, a mass-produced beer?
I would say, I mean, the technique's fundamentally the same in making them. We sort of, by being a bit more small scale, we get to choose our ingredients a little bit more selectively and be a bit more creative with that and use a bit more of different things. We also, we don't filter, we don't pasteurize, there's no preservatives. So our beers are a little bit more delicate. We have to store them cold and ship them cold, and try and monitor those things for quality pretty well. But the actual quality of the beer should therefore be higher, as any sort of freshly made product should be. Some mass-produced beers sit around for a long time before they're consumed.
Yeah, it's such a great addition to Noosa, this place. I mean, everyone I talk to, they just love it. Was there a catalyst or a moment for you that you went, you know what, I'm going to start a brewery?
Yeah, look, like I say, I've always been into the beer thing, always enjoyed going to breweries. Spend a bit of time in Margaret River in WA, and I was sitting in a brewery there in the sun, super relaxed place, really good quality beer, great quality food, and that's when the penny sort of dropped, and I thought create a brand and a sort of a venue and a product for Noosa would be great, and I thought Noosa needs one, so yeah, kind of just did it from there, really.
There's also a wonderful addition here that's happened recently, the Fortune Distillery. You're making gin, vodka, white malt. How did that come to life?
I think we kind of always figured we were going to put in a distillery. They kind of go together, a brewery and distillery, especially for the whiskey and the white malt products and the rums, which we're sort of going to start rolling out, because the first stage of making those products is to ferment a sort of a wash, which is fundamentally like making a beer without hops in it, so high alcohol beer. So we use the brewery to make the washes, and then they get distilled through the distillery. So it was always a plan. We probably had it pegged as about a 5-year plan. That just got brought forward, obviously, as the success of the opening of the brewery sort of went down. We thought, let's just jump straight in with the distillery and add it on, and it's gone really well so far.
Great. There's a lot of equipment in here. I was overhearing, someone said you had to bring a lot of the brewing stuff from San Diego. Is that right?
Yeah, we thought to make the best product, we'll get the best equipment. So obviously lots of research on brewing equipment, and we came across the Premier Stainless guys in San Diego, so went and visited them, and it just kind of fitted us for what we wanted, the right sort of scale and amazing quality and workmanship and super easy to use, and obviously just that lends itself to making a quality product. So yeah, that's why we chose those guys. Plus a few trips to San Diego was pretty fun too.
It never hurts.
Yeah, it never hurts.
Did you have to search to find your key brewers and your key distillers? Did you do a worldwide search, or was it easy?
Everything always happens for a reason. Everything always happens, nothing happens by chance. So I had a friend who I was trying to persuade to come in and work some hospitality stuff for me. And it just so happened that at the end of the conversation, I just said, do you know anyone who brews beer? And he said, my best mate in Canada brews beer. And so we got talking, and me and Shane, the love affair started, and we hit it off, and he's the perfect person for the brand and for the business, and makes amazing beer too. So it was a perfect fit. And then with the distillery, a bit closer to home, Jackson Boyd, local guy from Karoi, really great chef, worked in a lot of great restaurants in town. Went traveling, found this passion for whiskey, started distilling, studied distilling, came home, and the timing was just perfect, and he slid straight in, and yeah,
there wouldn't be many local boys that can make a good whiskey. That's amazing.
And you know, fits the brand, understands what we're trying to do, sees the vision, so yeah, perfect.
That's right.
Been perfect timing.
And when this was first, happening for you, was there a beer that stood out for you in those early days of the craft beers that made you go, oh, I'd like to try this, I'd like to get into this world?
Oh, look, I being from England, I've obviously got a real sort of love of heavy, dark ales, that sort of style beer. But then as I got into the craft thing, obviously a lot of them are pale ales, hop forward stuff. And then being in Australia too, a lot of the light, refreshing beers. So really it was that sort of tropical IPA, or pale ales and IPAs, and probably key beers were probably the Cooper's Pale Ale was, Cooper's is still a family-owned independent brewery. Awesome that they've been going so long. And probably Stone and Wood Pacific Ales, the two big ones. That's probably one that most people sort of reference. That was, 8-10 years ago, and yeah, it's still beautiful beer now. So yeah, definitely, that was the two that probably stand out.
Yeah. You come from a marketing, branding sort of background. How important is that in this business, and do you do it all yourself?
Look, it's super important. I definitely look at the business as we're a brand that happens to make beer, so the branding and the sort of getting people to engage with the brand on a sort of lifestyle level has always been sort of top of my sort of agenda. I work on all the concepts myself. I'm starting to bring a few people in to help with that and do some of the design work and some of the sort of content for me. But definitely as a conceptual thing, yeah, I do all that myself.
Yeah, everyone I talk to, they love the branding of Land and Seed, love the videos, So you've nailed it. It's such an iconic thing for Noosa. It fits so well. How long is the actual process of making beer? What are the stages?
It depends on the style of beer is the sort of short answer. But if you're making like so there's two types of beer, lagers and ales fundamentally. In those two sort of genres, there's obviously a lot of different variations. An ale generally takes sort of 3 weeks to make, with a lager takes 6 to 7 weeks. There's sort of a lagering process where the beer's kept cold and it sort of matures and the yeast drops out, and it takes a bit longer to sort of get the flavors to mellow out. And then those ales are a bit punchier, a bit full of flavors. They happen a bit quicker. We actually brew it in a day. It takes about 8 hours to do a batch of beer, and then it takes about a week to ferment, and then a couple more weeks, depending on the style of beer, to mature and get ready for packaging.
Yeah, great. Tim, if you're on a deserted island and you could only take one of your beers, which one would it be?
I would probably take my pale ale, my First Point Pale Ale. Beautiful, all Australian pale ale, and it's one of my favourites, probably the one I have most after a hard day working at the brewery. Plus it's also a pretty Noosa-inspired beer, being First Point,
Yeah. Are you a surfer? Was it a strange foreign thing when you first arrived here for you, or were you a surfer in England?
I actually came here, first time I ever came to Noosa was to come surfing. So yeah, I was a surfer back in England. I've been surfing forever. Ran a few surf schools, did a few things over there with surf. So yeah, definitely Noosa, the draw was surfing. Yeah, the points for me, for sure.
And you were once the proud owner of the iconic, the Woody car that people see driving around Noosa. Tell us a little bit about, you ran a business for that once upon a time.
Yeah, I set up a business with that, Noosa Woody Hire. We hired that out for weddings and formals and, just doing Noosa tours and that sort of thing. It was a pretty fun little business to get stuck into. It was a good way to acquire such a great car, and justify buying it. But amazing car, yeah, loved the Woody, still love the Woody.
And you're partnering up with a lot of people to make different beers, and you're even doing a gin with the Some Young Guys. What's happening with that particular gin?
So that's a really fun gin we did with the boys at Some Young Guys. They've got this amazing little restaurant down there doing great things, real fun, really sort of left of centre sort of thing, and it just sort of fitted that we'd do this Asian style gin for them, and which they obviously run in a few cocktails. So back and forth, they kind of came up with this concept of doing a Vietnamese soup pho gin, and it's going down really well. So yeah. Obviously it's got juniper in it, normal gin botanical, and then everything else is chili, fish sauce, soy sauce, lemongrass, all these amazing Asian greens and stuff. So yeah, really interesting gin, and they seem to enjoy it. Yeah,
that's great. And you had a pinball festival here, and you created a beer called the Wizard. Was that a successful thing for you guys?
actually a world-sanctioned pinball event. We had 30 pinball machines in the brewery. It just escalated from a conversation about having a little Saturday afternoon comp with a couple of pinball machines into this absolute one of Australia's biggest sort of pinball tournaments. But yeah, it was just good fun, and we did a pinball wizard beer and had all the pinball players here from all over the country. It was good fun.
And a local guy took the prize, apparently. He got the top prize.
Yeah, I think one of the guys from the Sunny Coast Pinball Club, he's pretty hot. I think he's pretty up there. So yeah, he won. And even a couple of the just roll-up local boys who hadn't really played much pinball since they were a bit younger, I think they did pretty well too.
Yeah, I'm going to bring my wife next year. She's good.
The wizard.
Is there a female event, or is it just open?
It's open.
Okay,
yeah,
she's going to get her practicing, man.
Get it in, mate.
Look, everyone seems to have a favourite spot in the Sunshine Coast, a favourite beach or a little pocket that they love. Is there a place that's special for you here?
My all-time favourite place is First Point Noosa.
Full stop.
Full stop, yeah, absolutely. It's in my opinion, it's one of the best surf spots. It's just this amazing corner of paradise, and you know, I really like Hastings Street being there. I like the whole thing. It's just it's pretty vibing. It's awesome. You've
travelled the world. You've travelled extensively. How did you find yourself in Noosa, and what were your first impressions?
Well, I was just came the normal sort of English route of surfing up the East Coast, stopping in all the spots, and spent a bit of time in a few different spots down the coast, and you know, it was really enjoying it. And then, you know, came up to Noosa just to come and have a surf, and we planned on staying here 7 days, you know, around about. And as I drove in over the bridges down Noosa Parade and sort of worked my way towards the beach, I just started to get this feeling like it was a pretty special place, and pulled up at the beach, and the points were firing, and there was waves galore pretty much all week. And I think I stayed nearly a month that time, and then always knew I wanted to come back. It was just go home and try and figure out when I can come back for as long as possible time, and then that was me. Yeah, it was just kind of couldn't get rid of me.
Yeah, great. There's a plethora of great places to eat in Noosa, this included. If you weren't eating here, is there a spot that you love to go?
Any chance I get, I go to Some Young Guys, for sure. Yeah, I know we've kind of mentioned them already. I mean, there's loads of other cool little spots I do enjoy. But I like a lot of little spots like in the hinterland and stuff. But yeah, definitely Some Young Guys if I was gonna eat here. Yeah, or El Capitano Pizza's pretty good on Hastings Street too after a surf. Bit of a feed after a surf.
If you could live anywhere on the Sunshine Coast or Noosa, is there a street or a pocket that you love?
Oh yeah, there's definitely places I do dream of living on the sunny coast. I'd love to live Pridgeon Beach.
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool little community. Everyone seems to get along real well there, and it's got everything you need. It's got beautiful beach at the front and great restaurants and a nice little laid-back feel. Failing that, I also love a bit further down the coast. I love that Majimba sort of area. Again, for the same reasons, it's got a real little community down there, and life seems to go a little bit slower, which is pretty nice, pretty appealing right now.
Tim, it's a bit left field, but what was the first music album you ever bought?
Oh, it's pretty embarrassing. I think it was Bon Jovi.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I think it was probably a bit of a rocker back in the day. I think it was probably Bon Jovi. The album with Living on a Prayer on it. So I'm not sure what the album was called now, but yeah, pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, Tim, thank you so much, mate. It's been great chatting to you.
My pleasure.
And thank you for opening this place. It makes our little pocket of the world that little bit better. So thanks, mate.
No worries,
cheers.
Mate. Thank you.